It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Well, welcome back. This is your Feel Good Breakfast Show Expresso only on SABC3. It's that time of the week again, and we're back with our resident expert on all things otherworldly, Jono Weltman from the Foundation of Space Development. This morning, we're turning our attention towards the stars, literally. And as the movie Lion King taught us, stars are balls of gas burning billions of miles away. But even stars have a beginning and an eventual end. Jono, lovely to have you, man. Very
Great
interesting.
to be back,
I think
yeah.
Stars fascinates all of us, whether that is, exactly where they come from and what the process is, how they form, to just gazing at them. It's absolutely phenomenal. So let's talk about it. Let's start at the end.
Okay.
How do stars, because we know that the stars that we look at, mostly, some of them or most of them don't exist anymore. They've burnt out, basically. It's just the light still, heading our way. So how do they eventually reach their end?
Look, a star can take millions of years to die. A star like our sun will take millions of years to die. Effectively, they run out of fuel.
Okay.
Which is hydrogen. Something the size of our star will expand into what we call a red giant, swallow up Venus and Mercury in that process, and then shrink right back down when the nuclear reaction stops into what we call a white dwarf.
Okay.
A bigger star, that's about 8 or 9 times the size of our sun, will turn into a super red giant and then go supernova on us. And it will try and create nuclear reactions with heavier elements like nitrogen. It will fail, it will then explode, and as a result of that explosion, we have a distribution of those heavier elements across the universe, and that's what actually creates new stars.
All right.
So it's the death of old stars that create the new ones.
That's incredible. It sounds rather violent.
It is. Supernovas are violent. They're the brightest things in the sky. They will outshine everything else in the sky when they happen, and they can last for weeks.
So on that point, then you say that it's because of old stars, fading out, that creates new stars. So what's the process of a new star then forming, like our sun, for example?
So hydrogen gas is quite abundant across our universe. We see it all over the place. In fact, we know them better as nebulas. We see gas and dust in things like the Crab Nebula, the Eagle Nebula, the Pillars of Creation. Very beautiful things to look at. But what's actually happening there is that hydrogen and other particles are starting to clump together. And the reason they do is some of these heavier particles that have been emitted, like nitrogen, have more gravity, just slightly more gravity than a hydrogen particle. So things start to clump together.
Okay.
And the more they clump together, they start to spin to maintain orbital momentum. And then they start to form into these gaseous clusters. And the pressure that they're under creates a nuclear reaction. Okay, so at about 10,000 degrees Kelvin, at 2,000 degrees, the hydrogen gas is split into hydrogen atoms, and at about 10,000 degrees Kelvin, which is caused just by the pressure, we start to have a nuclear reaction, and a star is born. However, if that nuclear reaction is not balanced, if the gravity is not balanced by the outward force of the nuclear reaction, the star doesn't survive.
I see.
And it just blows itself apart. So not all the stars that we see, that are created actually survive. We have to have something called hydrostatic equilibrium, where the outward force of the nuclear reaction is equal to the gravity.
It's interesting. It's such a fine balance. If you take a look at something so huge in our universe, I mean, our sun, for example, is definitely not the biggest star out there, but I mean, the balance is so fine to have something like that form. And also, we've seen some very, very cool images right now. So if people want to follow and learn more about these kind of things, look at images, I mean, is there a specific place that they can go to?
We go to hubblesite.org, and you will see some of the most amazing pictures of our nebulas, supernovas, whole solar systems being born, stars being born. Amazing images.
I really think it's amazing. I mean, it's such an incredibly interesting thing. We look at the stars every single day, but it's a nice kind of thought process to think where they actually come from and how do they work. Even though what you've said, I don't completely understand.
And that our universe is dynamic. It's not a timeless, ageless thing doing nothing.
Exactly.
It's constantly alive. Birth and death and rebirth all the time.
Absolutely. Very interesting. Thank you so much for joining us, Jono. Always looking forward to talk to you. There we go. All you need to know about stars, go check it out, hubble.org. That's the website.
Hubblesite.org.
Hubblesite.org. Right now, though, time for the news.